Hello, everybody. That was Tobacco Crepe, Aerosmith, featuring Beck. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis legalization, the benefits of cannabis. But let's not forget who was right before me. Side stage with Trav on Thursday, every Thursday, 1 to 3. After me, Stinky Arts Music Mart, usually. But I have it on good authority that Mr. Stinky will not be in this Thursday or next Thursday. So 3 Thursdays from now. Is that Thanksgiving Thursday? I don't even know. But anyway, let's focus on me, and let's focus on Measure 2. If you live in the state of North Dakota, you, my friend, if you haven't early voted, need to be voting in November 8th for Measure 2. The cannabis legalization measure, recreationally, you can have up to an ounce. You're going to be able to grow 3 plants, and from the medical perspective, that's a major. I mean, to be able to control and grow your own medicine certainly isn't allowed currently in the medical program. So this is going to allow you to have more medical flexibility and freedom. So get your grandma, get your aunt, get your uncle, get your brother if he's 18, and get out. And I'm going to mention in the next segment where you guys can vote. So we're going to take care of you. I believe cannabis was created by God himself, our creator. I worship him every minute of the day, but specifically on Sundays, 11 a.m., Antioch Church. Feel free to drop in and join me. Because again, I believe he put it here for us to use as we see fit. And I'm going to vote yes on Measure 2, and I hope you do too. Or hopefully you already have. Now, personally, I'm not going to walk to the Fargo Dome, so I'm going to wait till Tuesday and walk to the Civic. But again, in the next segment, we're going to tell you where you can go. Early voting is wrapping up. We just got a few days left in that. And it's getting down to the wire, man. It's getting down to the wire. So all you guys is put all your work in, and everybody out there grinding to make Measure 2 happen. Let's get out and vote so their efforts aren't in vain. And the money raised and just everybody pushing towards a legal cannabis option in the state of North Dakota. South Dakota going to be voting too. We're going to talk about that at 4:20 when I open a big fat bag of cannabis news open. This show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook, blackcottagealchemy.com, or you can come downtown to Tochi Products, get the body butter. The body butter's got 1,600 mgs of CBD in it, locally grown hemp as well. So come down and get you some. It's good for stretch marks, foot fungal, all around soothing for you. Again, 1,600 mgs of CBD in every tub. BlackCottageAlchemy.com, Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on this gloomy Monday morning feeling Thursday. Cannabis is what's on the menu until 5 o'clock. 4:20, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news. And again, I can assure you, we're going to do this thing. And again, we need to keep November 8th next Tuesday, because when I come back, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson next Thursday, it's going to be wild. I'm going to be recapping the votes, whether or not we're in, whether or not we're out. I'm praying for South Dakota, man. I hope they get it handled. Arkansas, again, that's crazy. Missouri, another conservative state. And I was reading somewhere that what makes North Dakota such a pivotal state is that it's ran by Republicans. And that just is kind of unheard of, to have a cannabis legalization measure come full circle and complete the zen under that kind of leadership. So I'm in good spirits. I'm positive about the results, because I don't think it matters who you are, what color of your flag is. Cannabis needs to be unleashed, and if you're red, you like money. This is money for you. If you're blue, I don't know what you do, because I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a Jesus can, as I say. I don't get caught up in man's ability to try to control me, because at the end of the day, I feel like it is. I don't know that the government started as controlling entity, but I feel like it is now. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We're going to run you through where you can vote, when that's coming up again, and I'm going to assure you that, that I'm going to give you the information you need to take care of that. And I have it on good authority that a poll has been completed, and we'll talk about what I can talk about that as we get along here. But again, stick with me. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. No Stinky Arts Music Mart after me, but we have Black Ring Ritual later in the day. So again, welcome everybody. bundle up, put a scarf on, and we're gonna get to it. Let's play a little music because I feel that's where we're at. Here is brand new music, Sunday, Theo Katzman and Nick Campbell. Okay, Sunday. That's Nick Campbell Destroys and Theo Katzman. That's brand new on KRFF 95.9 LPFM. Moorhead, Fargo we hail from. RadioFreeFargo.org, though, streaming everywhere you are in the world. So if you want to listen to the best radio station in the world, as far as I'm concerned, jump online, RadioFreeFargo.org. Or if you're within the tower's pumping of said frequencies, jump on KRFF 95.9. Put it on your vehicle and drive around and listen to me talk you into a tree. I rhymed. Did you see that? Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. I'm glad to have each and every one of you listening to me trumpet the positivities and the yes on Measure 2 and cannabis legalization and attempting to grow. Like I said, I got a closet just begging me to grow those 3 plants. Now, again, you're going to have to talk to or not, you're going to have to talk to your landlord. I'm not so sure just because we're legally allowed to grow 3, if you're going to be able to grow it in your apartment closet or in your patio or garage or whatever. So that's kind of a bummer, but, I'm sure it'll all get worked out in the wash. But what's important now is to get your hind end to a stinking voting booth with whomever you can grab with you and vote yes on Measure 2. Programming on KRFF 95.9 is being underwritten by Art Riot Promotions. Art Riot will design and print any business or personalized custom decal in a variety of shapes and sizes. Art Riot creates custom engraved gifts and promotional items. Art Riot offers flexible online or in-person consultations. Local in-store pickup or shipping is available for any order. That's right, any order. Visit them at 819 Main Avenue in Moorhead. Art Riot is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You can find them online at artriotpromotions.com and also on Facebook and Instagram. Again, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson is here to talk about cannabis. And we're going to talk about early voting, locations, and where you can get this thing done. However, I've got a little birdie that chirps in my ear. I shout out to Mr. Anderson, and I happen to have some stuff that you may not know. We may not even supposed to know, but we do. And I'm going to tell you, and you can let your imagination work as we run through this. Now, apparently, there's a Measure 2 poll that is going to drop any day now on your social medias and your news and wherever you listen. The results can't be disclosed at this point, so you'll have to wait for that. But we do know that the vote percentage, yay or nay, is within 1%. And that is, that makes me anxious, That makes me want to take an ashwagandha capsule or jump down and do 100 push-ups, because even if that's 1% for cannabis passing, that is a horrible percentage amount to bank on. I mean, that is that's a nail biter. That's encouraging, right? Because the percentage points could be way worse. But because it's so close, it's got me froggy, y'all. So let's look at this in perspective so you guys can see what this is. So again, let me remind you, there's a Measure 2 poll. It's going to drop here any time now. I can't give you all the information because I don't have it, but I can say it's within 1%. So that's either for or against, but that's close, y'all. So 1% of the total voters in the 2018 North Dakota midterm election was only 3,300 people. That's for the entire state. So just think about that. That's 3,300 people. That's if you take the 5 largest cities in ND, that's only 600 people per city. That's only 330 couples. There's over 10,000 students in NDSU and UND, and most of them ain't going to vote because they're too busy in the house drinking booze. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea what they're doing. Probably studying for midterms. Just the college students alone can win this election if they turn out. So if you don't believe your vote counts, it does. Now, don't blow it, y'all. We're fervently asking you to vote for Measure 2. For whatever reason, just imagine this. If you had a loved one that was raped in the last couple of years, those rape tests are being backburnered while they try to figure out whether or not the cannabis you had in your car was real cannabis or cannabis I can buy at a gas station. So your daughter or your sister's closure is hinging on cannabis and whether or not it's real or not. Now, does that sound like a valid reason for you to be telling your kids, sorry, they don't care whether you were raped or not. We got to make sure this cannabis isn't Delta 8 or 9 or 10 or 5 or, is it HHC? Is it THCV? Is it THCO? Is it CBN grass? Because there's so many legal versions, it's almost like the illegal version is the least circulated. Not because it's illegal, it's because you took too long to legalize cannabis, and so now there's so many stinking, compartmentalized, cannabinoids, circulating around. I mean, Google Delta. Just Google Delta and see what kind of numbers pop up behind you, and then where you can go in North Dakota or Minnesota and pick it up. So anyway, if you need a reason to vote yes on Measure 2, it's because they're holding back rape cases until they get all these cannabis tests tested. And if it was legal, guess what? We'd be stinking rape kit testing today. But instead, they're just sitting around gathering dust while they wait. No urgency, because it's more fugal to make sure this is cannabis or not, so you can get money for the state. So anyhow, vote yes on Measure 2, William. Election Day voting locations in Fargo, Tuesday. Well, you know what? Yeah, okay. All right. We gotta hit a musical break here real quick. So I'm gonna come back and tell you where you can let's see, early voting in Fargo Dome, West Acres, Northview Church, Ag, Hartley Building, Days Inn, Castleton, 10 to 6 are the hours. Grand Forks, 3 days left, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Alair Center. Bismarck, 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Bismarck Event Center. Mandan, only 4 days left. Minot, only 3 days left. Ward County. Dickinson, today's the last day to vote early. Prairie Hills Mall. Jamestown, only 2 days left. You do not register to vote in North Dakota. You just got to be over 18. And after this, we're going to be 420, and we'll talk about cannabis legalization, and more in Measure 2. Here's Pigmeat Man. Lyle Lovett. I love it. 95.9. I like bacon and ham. I'm a pig meat man. Wow, that's a great song. KRFF 95.9, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming wherever you have internet connection. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. I get in here, 420, open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what's on deck. So stick around. On the other side of this, we're going to talk about cannabis. 95.9.
Hey, it's Phil from Cannaheads. Like this episode? Hit that like button. And if you enjoy the show, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on cannabis news, local and national. Listen live on 95.9 in the Fargo, North Dakota region from 4 to 5 p.m. on Thursday. For our non-Fargo region friends, you can listen on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Now enjoy the show.
Okay. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. I will be your friendly, green-leaning host for the next 25 minutes, expounding wisdom when it comes to grass and cannabis and the legality of that. So hang in with me, will you? First of all, let's talk about Measure 2. Measure 2 is the measure in the state of North Dakota that you, my friend, if you are a resident of North Dakota, get to vote on next Tuesday, or early voting. I mentioned where that is, and I'll mention it again before I get out the door. I'm going to tell you now where on stinking the day, Tuesday, November 8th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Fargo Dome, Fargo, West Acres, Fargo, Northview Church, Fargo Civic Center, that's the one I'll be at. Atonement Lutheran Church, Calvary United Methodist, Hartley Ag Building at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Okay, so there you have it. Tuesday, get out, vote for Measure 2, recreational cannabis. We may never get a vote. I mean, who knows if we'll get another chance. And it's just, it's just going to be a good day to get out and vote for cannabis legalization. You're going to be able to have and grow up to 3 plants. You're going to be able to have an ounce. The government or the regulatory board in the state of North Dakota will be forced to regulate, keep the mold out of your grass. And that's always nice, dosage, regulation. That's not horrible. Because you see what happened in South Dakota when, mothers make their own brownies and then leave them on the counter, and then, their little old, bless their hearts, bridge playing partners decide to eat a couple while she's in the bathroom, and then all of a sudden they feel weird, they go to the hospital, and the poor kid who baked them is now, in jail. Because, I mean, his dosages were probably off. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday, 4:20, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's happening right now. This is High Times Magazine. South Dakota Governor Noem says she'll implement new cannabis law passed by voters. Well, bless her heart, because the last time they voted it in, she was the reason it got kicked back out. But again, it was a constitutional amendment, and legislators get funny about that, So this one isn't, so maybe that eases her a little bit. The percentage of whether or not she'll get voted back in is pretty high, so, it's high time we get Measure 2 voted in the state of North Dakota, and it's high time Measure 27 prevails. And again, we've got Arkansas, Missouri, and Maryland, 5 states voting for cannabis legalization, which, if in fact that happens, we will now have reached the over half of the states have legalized cannabis. So, and by mostly people-driven initiatives. So, it's obvious that it's us against them, because us have attempted to get them to legalize cannabis, well, in North Dakota for a long time, at least in the 2000s, and it's just they don't want to deal with it, so we fight them. However, we voted them in, right? So make sure you vote, vote cannabis friendly. Don't disregard your values, of course. Vote your values, but come on, use your head too. And cannabis, it's going to be, it's low. Here's the thing. Find any sort of survey, any sort of statistics, any studies, any research. No deaths, right? But what's high is tax income and tax revenue. That's high. Deaths, 0. Booze, tobacco, yeah, the revenue's high, but it's really high because it's health-related issues. I mean, how much money hospitals have made because you ignorantly smoke? I'm just kidding. You can smoke if you want to. I don't drink, but I used to, and it came with problems that I had to cover. Somebody had to cover. So it was a financial boon because of you got addicted to it, so you kept buying it, and then you had health effects that required doctoring. And there was money too. Then insurance policies were created. It's just a big mess. Cannabis is just not that way. It'll bring in revenue, and we'll talk about where it even stacks up next to oats and hay and corn. It's further up there than you think, bruh. So anyway, I get sidetracked, but I'm excited because, again, next Thursday, we'll either have cannabis legalized or not in the state of North Dakota, and it's got me fired up. I didn't realize I was fired up till they pushed the on button, and not by we, I mean me, here at the studio. So, after leading a successful legal challenge against a voter-approved recreational cannabis amendment, Christie says she won't stand in the way the second time around. Well, isn't that sweet? Voters in the state will decide next week on Measure 27, a proposal to legalize personal possession of cannabis. Noem, a Republican, is up for re-election, remains opposed to cannabis legalization, but at a campaign town hall, the governor said she would uphold the will of the voters. If it passes, it's going to be implemented. That's just the facts. Noem told voters. Well, okay. 54% voters approved an amendment in 2020 that would have legalized cannabis then. Christie Don't Know helped lead a legal challenge, used your South Dakota taxpayer money to do it, that ultimately led to the state Supreme Court striking down the amendment. So Noem defended her action, saying that the law would have ran afoul of the state constitution. I raised my right hand and I said that I would uphold the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution. The basis of every decision comes from that. It sounds good. But who knows? Now, let's just keep talking about South Dakota a little bit. I don't want to overshadow North Dakota. Make sure you get out and vote. Measure 2. New Approach North Dakota has gathered the signatures. We'll talk about stuff. We've got stuff to talk about. Here we got small state, big stakes for North Dakota cannabis legalization. MJ Biz Daily. That's here in a few minutes. We'll read that. Okay. Now, this is awesome. I don't know how to say this. But first of all, New Approach South Dakota, let's give them a hand. Why? Because they're suing South Dakota. Can I get an amen from that one elderly lady that showed up in her wheelchair? Bless your heart, sister. Anyway, They're suing. South Dakota cannabis advocates seek to determine whether state officials broke law by speaking out against legalization measure. Cannabis advocates have opened an inquiry into whether state officials spoke in an official capacity to campaign against cannabis legalization, which is a violation of state law. Oh boy, that sounds fun, doesn't it? The organization that backed South Dakota's successful medical cannabis initiative in 2020 has sent information requests to government offices throughout the state to determine whether officials have broken state law, and I'm sure they have, those dirty dogs, by publicly opposing this year's adult use cannabis measure. Per South Dakota law, government officials may speak their opinion on candidates or ballot measures in their personal capacity, but may not influence the election of a candidate or ballot initiative in their official capacity, and doing so is a felony. Doing so is a felony. New Approach South Dakota Deputy Director Ned Horsted, that's right, Horse, told Dakota News Now that the decision to press forward with the inquiry was not an easy one. We're submitting public record requests for multiple political officials throughout the state. It wasn't an easy decision. We're dealing with a very powerful political establishment in the state. However, under the South Dakota Constitution, they are not allowed to use taxpayer resources to promote a political agenda. Okay. The group sent information requests to the Mayor of Sioux Falls, Paul Tenhaken, Minnehaha County Sheriff, Rapid City Mayor, and others. That's awesome. The trio was among the speakers at a press conference. Yeah, they sucked in Sioux Falls last week. New Approach's information requests are seeking to see whether those officials were on the clock and speaking in their official capacity or using government social media pages while speaking against the ballot measure. The group's inquiry was also sent to the Pennington County Sheriff's Department, Minnehaha County Department, Box Elder Police Department, bunch of coppers. Jim Kenyon, Executive Director of Catholic Social Services, SECUM. The South Dakota Catholic Association, you're getting it done. Next Generation Leadership, PAC administrators, state representatives, Senator John Thune, Governor Kristi Noem, her staff. Oh boy, all kinds of fun people getting sued. Tenhaken told North Dakota News Now that he's protected under the First Amendment and allowed to voice his opinion on ballot measures. Well, okay, but that's not what the Constitution says, though, right? So what are we talking about here? He says he can use the Constitution to get out of it. We say he broke something that the Constitution doesn't allow him to do. But that's pretty awesome, isn't it? South Dakota cannabis advocates seek to determine and are suing South Dakota state officials. And the governor's in there, the mayor. This is from High Times 2. UK railway station evacuated due to suspicious package. False alarm at a Birmingham railway station. I bet you're wondering, well, what's this suspicious package and what's it got to do with cannabis? And Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. And I'm Wilson. I come in at Thursday, 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and that's what I'm doing here at 95.9. So thank you for joining me. What was it? It was a grinder. That's right. A major British railway station was evacuated earlier this week. The item that set off the panic? A stinking weed grinder. Okay, it just wasn't any grinder. Right? But one that was in the shape of a grenade. Oh, well. That wasn't very smart, was it, bloke? That wasn't bloody smart. The evacuation occurred on Monday. All services in and out of the station were suspended after reports of a suspicious package, and that is in quotes, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon local time. Experts discovered the item found on the platform was actually a cannabis grinder in the shape of a grenade. Commuters were allowed back in at about 4:40. It had been funny if they'd let them in at 4:20, feel me? But disruption is expected to last until the end of the day. What do you mean it's expected to last at the end of the day? Passengers were told to get as far away from the building as possible, according to some people at the scene. The bomb incident, the busy train, saw all lines blocked, all services running in and out of the station. One person at the station claimed the conductor on 1528 from Derby told passengers a suspected grenade had been found. Station was evacuated entirely. It was just a grinder. I mean, who's leaving their grinder? Now, here's what we can learn here. Under the law in UK, cannabis is classified as a Class B drug, dubbed an intermediary category, okay, that also includes amphetamines and barbiturates. Of course it does. Class B drugs carry potential penalties of up to 5 years in prison for possession and as many as 14 years for trafficking and cultivating. Okay. So, the Suella Braverman from UK had designs on imposing the stricter Class A on classifications on cannabis. You could get a life sentence under Class A drugs. I think it's just safe to say, and do your research, old Biden talking about all this awesomeness he did about expunging, and there's articles everywhere that actually claims he didn't do squat, and it was just a bunch of, again, word salad, and really barely anybody was even affected by it. And it was just lame. It kind of reminded me of, Dougie B's exonerating process that was just stupid. And it just sounded good. It was just word salad. And it was probably right around something needed to be particularly done or swayed or whatever. And so, Biden got some, props. People were really reporting it. But the reality is he didn't do nothing. It was just a bunch of word salad. Do your own research. It isn't anything it's hyped up to be. Only a quarter of Virginia drivers say driving on cannabis is extremely dangerous. This is a High Time article. Survey shows few Virginia drivers are concerned about the dangers of driving under the influence of cannabis compared to alcohol or texting. Because it's just true. There's been a disconnect a lot because cannabis was illegal. So you weren't really going to admit to anything. You certainly weren't going to say you use it to drive, blah, 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 blah. And I haven't driven in many years, so the statute of limitations is kind of out on my... But, cannabis is extremely harmless with driving. Now, again, there's variables, but I would argue if you drank 4 gallons of water really fast and jumped in a car and tried to drive, it'd be a problem. You'd have some issues. Maybe just your bladder, you'd have to, do it in a 5 o'clock traffic jam and drink 5 gallons of water and then tell me that didn't affect your operation of a heavy machinery. Or just distraction. Texting? Insane. Cannabis, I'm not going to lie to you and say that it doesn't have a little bit of a video game quality to it, which some might say, well, that's because you're high, doper. Not so much, but there is a small element of animation, me personally. But I've driven thousands of miles utilizing cannabis for any given reason. I'm bored. I'm in the middle of stupid Nebraska and it stinks. It stinks. There's nothing on the radio. But it doesn't change your ability. Now, again, there's extremes to every, scenario. But for the most part, driving isn't a concern with cannabis. And we all could have told you that, but it's been illegal. So conversation regarding driving. But trust me, cannabis just is almost harmless, Now, for newbies, I would imagine that when people say I'm blown or I'm fried or, my face is melting, doesn't really happen to people who utilize it medically and repeatedly. If your body's used to it, being a Christian, I always ask myself, am I high? And what is this? Is this bad to feel this way? And I just think that my body utilizes it medically, and I just don't get that, oh my goodness, I'm high. But I would argue a lot of people don't. Certainly the ones that utilize it for its benefits. Whereas booze, crying out loud, I'm surprised I'm alive with the times I drove and then woke up and didn't remember driving home. And I'm not alone. It happens probably in North Dakota more than we'd like to admit. And I would argue if cannabis was readily available, a lot of people probably wouldn't get to that blackout stage anymore. And cannabis would get on their shoulder and go, yo, maybe you should put that, that Four Loko down. You've already had a half a can. Because Four Loko, you drink a couple cans of that, man, you're walking into walls, dog. But anyway, shout out Virginia drivers speaking truth. And we're going to keep cruising. Cannabis moment. Now, this is a good one. Cannabis is a more valuable crop than potatoes or rice. New Leafly report on adult use market. So just think about that. We need potatoes and rice. A lot of people would say. A lot of people would say we don't because it's carbs. But again, I'm beginning to learn that I do need carbs in my diet. I've implemented some. I've gained a few pounds, and, the ladies say I look better. A couple dudes have said it too, but I mostly just listen to the ladies. Feel me? So, the wholesale value of cannabis across 15 adult use states has reached $5 billion, making it the 6th most valuable cash crop in the country, above potatoes and rice, according to a new report. And that's not even accounting for the massive medical cannabis market that provides for patients in almost 24 other states. Wild. So, the cannabis company analyzed licensing records for legal cannabis states, sales and tax reports. Here we're going to just give you a little shot here. Corn, annual wholesale value, $82 billion. That's a lot, though. When you think about cannabis, is only $5 billion and it's still at $6. Corn is $82 billion. Soybeans, $57 billion. Hay, $19. Wheat, $11. And cotton is $7. However, if we would start utilizing hemp, that cotton probably would get bumped out. And I would argue that hemp is illegal because cotton wanted to be number 5. And they had the money to do it. You know, same thing with probably corn and wheat. I mean, those are high market profit value items. And number 6, sitting at number 6, what is it you're wondering? I wonder what it is. Is it cannabis? Yes, it is. So adult use cannabis is a top cash crop in states where it's legal. But that song goes unsung. It's a systemic discrimination at the local, state, and federal level. Simply put, local federal governments do not treat cannabis farmers like farmers. Americans want to end the drug war and move consumers to a legal, taxed, and tested crop. We all do. And in the state of North Dakota, I hope that we all are feeling the same way. And yeah, we're not filling out any surveys. Maybe we're not out there on the streets with signs. But when you get in that little cubicle, do the right thing. And again, I hate bringing this back up, but we've got rape kits that need to be tested that are taking a back seat to cannabis tests that would be removed immediately, and we could get to testing the stuff that matters, right? Because that seems a little bit more important than figuring out whether or not this is Delta 8 or 9 or 10 or, is it CBD? Is it cannabis? Hold on, girl. We'll get to you in a minute. What? So let's vote yes on Measure 2. I'm getting sidetracked. But here's the case in point. Cannabis is a more valuable crop than potatoes or rice, people. It's number 6 in utilities. Is it utilities? Crop. Is it crop? Don't matter. Now, let's keep cruising here. I got 2 stories to talk about. Let's talk about this one first. This is from MaryJane.com, and this is an awesome story. Peruvian police dress up as Marvel superheroes to bust drug dealers. That's right. Those Peruvians, am I right? Dress up as Marvel superheroes. A gang of Peruvian national police officers dressed up as Spidey, Captain America, Thor, and Black Widow to arrest an alleged family of at least 4 drug dealers in Lima. Lima? Don't matter. And global media sources cheered them on. I kind of do too. The action went down in the Peruvian capital's neighborhood of San Juan de Lurigancho. I butchered that. Lurigancho. It's moments like that I sometimes feel like I have Tourette's, but I just think I'm a mushhead. Officers dubbed the raid Operation Marvel. Of course they did. And apparently decided the best plan for the day would be to don the attires of comic book characters while allegedly disrupting a cocaine trafficking ring while pretending to be participants in a school play. Does this sound cute? Consider how terrifying it'd be for anyone to hammer down your door, breaking all its glass panes while screaming, and then when they make it in, they are dressed as Captain America. Indeed, this is what happened when the officer dressed as Captain America borrowed an accessory from another co-worker dressed as Thor, and had rather inexplicably carried with him on this official business. Then, 10 unmasked police officers stormed in to provide backup to the costumed cops. The raid took place on the Saturday before Halloween, and the officers' exploits were amplified in publication as far from Peru as the UK's Daily Mail. I never heard of it. Because everyone, apparently, loves a good cop caper, the action was caught on videotape. This is how we know that the cop dressed as Spider-Man stepped on the back of one suspect to hold him down on the ground. Spidey apparently didn't even stop to take their mask off before expecting what police report were 3,200 baggies of cocaine paste. El Paz reported that the operation also uncovered the presence of cocaine hydrochloride, whatever that is. What is that? 287 bags of coke, 127 bags of cannabis in a small house. I think the problem here is the cocaine hydrochloride, I think. Cops said, I'd dress up like Spidey and go in there too. Cops said the family was planning on selling the psychoactive substances in a nearby community park. On what? The officers stayed in character, even as they loaded the suspects onto the police truck that would take them away. Even though they did don vests that identified them as officers, a photo published by the New York Post showed that they wore the get-ups even after the bust. They were accessorizing them with cheesy grins as they posed with the chagrined, and whoever wrote this loves words, and a table full of the baggies, money, and cell phones that were among the items seized in the raid. In this building, an entire family was dedicating themselves to the micro-commercialization of drugs. The drugs were going to be sold in a park, The publication wrote that the suspects initially thought the raid was an elaborate prank. And it's funny because this isn't the first time these crazy, wacky Peruvian cops dressed up in a festive manner during the 2020 holiday season. And I talked about this on the show. The Green Squad dressed up as Santa Claus and his elves during an undercover sting. That is flippin' awesome. And you guys rock, Peruvian. Peruvia, you guys rock. Now, MJ Biz Daily. It's kind of an interesting article, and I kind of fell into it. Again, you're listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on Radio Free Fargo, KRWF 95.9. We talk about cannabis legalization. Measure 2, that's what's happening in North Dakota. Measure 27 is what's happening in South Dakota, and I believe Measure 4 is Arkansas. But anyway, if you're in any of those states, get out. There's early voting. We'll talk about it before I get out of here. Fargo, North Dakota is where I hail. Small state, big stakes for North Dakota cannabis legalization measure. At just under 775,000 people, North Dakota's entire pop could fit in San Francisco city limits with room to spare. Despite the physically vast, traditionally conservative prairie state's relatively small constituency, a voter initiative that would legalize cannabis in North Dakota is big stakes. Proving legalization is a true bipartisan issue and influencing attitudes in the U.S. Senate. It could also lead to the opening of a new market, generating sales of as much as $100 million in its first year and $285 million by the fourth year. That's MJ Biz Daily projections. They know projections. An expanded national market, active in traditionally conservative states, is key to the future of vital reform, and I agree. However, thanks in part to a modest campaign investment from the cannabis industry, the pro-legalization campaign in North Dakota has been outspent in the final crucial months as opponents flood radio and Facebook with negative advertising, and boo on you. Those opponents include hugely influential statewide business and law enforcement groups, and limited polling suggests a loss as supporters admit a close race is likely. So if voters in North Dakota do reject legalization and other red states like Arkansas and Missouri follow suit, it would be a relatively rare setback for legalization. If approved by voters, Measure 2 would allow adults. Everybody knows that. Let's see here. Some of the political heavy hitters that opposed 2018, including state cops and business groups, are still opposed, but more passive, he said. They're sitting on the sidelines, kind of hanging out this time around, rather than spending heavily on the opposition campaign. Matt Ruby believes there are conservative arguments in favor of cannabis legalization, a balance of personal freedom, mollified with restrictions cast as responsible versus the comparative freewheeling situation in Colorado. In addition, Measure 2 scored a major endorsement from the Grand Forks Herald editorial board. That's something they've never had before, said Ruby. It's a conservative state. It's going to be tough, but I feel good about it. And a break from the trend seen in other red states. Most of the $500,000 in campaign spending and support is coming from the national advocacy. New Approach donated $300,000. MPP donated $70,000. The top donor is the New Approach Advocacy Fund. So that's all good news. And then it just basically shows all the different money. Curaleaf kicked down, Pure Dakota kicked down. And I don't know if that's good or not. We got stinking Healthy and Productive North Dakota. Remember Christy Spooner? Spooner did not respond to calls, of course, but her material support, $2,500 to date, according to campaign, is coming from a familiar source, a political action campaign, Protect Our Kids. In comments to other media, legalization would lead to increased use by youth, more traffic fatalities, and as we know, that isn't the case. Cannabis, you drive fine on cannabis. Cannabis can cause psychosis, said Spooner, and a host of other mental issues. That's just never been proved. At the same time, a dark money organization is paying for a flurry of media advertisements seen on Facebook. That group, the Bismarck-based Brighter Future Alliance, has spent $133,000 to oppose Measure 2, mostly on media buys. Finken did not immediately respond, but Ruby says they're just dusting off everything they've had in the past. There's not a lot of new thinking coming from them, and it's kind of, it's just lame. So, the national implications are huge, said Moffitt. The big reason why a state like North Dakota matters is because it's represented by 2 Republican senators in Congress. They can't say, oh, this is a Democratic thing if North Dakota passes legalization. There aren't enough Democrats in North Dakota to pass it. There will have to be a lot of Republican voters for this to pass. So shout out, everybody. And I'm going to head to a musical break here. But man, get out and vote. And when I come back next Thursday, we're going to have a lot to talk about. Programming on KRFF 95.9 is being underwritten by Discontent Fargo. Discontent Fargo is your high-class counterculture lifestyle store. Discontent is your destination for the smoke and vape culture, providing a dense selection of artist-based handcrafted glassworks, vapor products, and lifestyle apparel. That's closed. Discontent Fargo is located at 512 Broadway in downtown Fargo. Open 10 to 9 Monday through Saturday and noon to 7 on Sundays. For more information, check out Discontent Fargo on Facebook and their Instagram at Discontent Stores. Well, we've made it. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. How was it for you guys? Now, we're going to play brand new music from Danger Mouse and Black Thought, Strangers. Yep. Strangers featuring A$AP Rocky, Run the Jewels. Danger Mouse and Black Thought's got an album out these days. Check it out if you like it. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Every Thursday I get in here. 4 o'clock exactly. 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news. This Thursday was no different. It was an exciting episode because this is the last episode before you get to vote yes or no on Measure 2, the cannabis legalization measure in the state of North Dakota. It's exciting. Get out and vote. Tell your people to get out and vote. I am going to tell you right now where you can vote. Tuesday, November 8th in the Fargo area, Fargo Dome, West Acres, the church, Northview, Fargo Civic Center, Atonement Lutheran Church, Calvary United Methodist Church, and Hart Ag Building at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. Early voting, Fargo Dome, West Acres, Northview Church, Ag Hartley. And there you have it. So, again, get out and vote. Tell your friends. Let's get cannabis legalized in the state of North Dakota. And then in a few years, we can look back and tell all the naysayers, see, we told you. But we just have to be the majority now and then let the naysayers come behind us. Feel me? So, I'm out of here. Make sure you get out and vote. Bring somebody with you. And we'll recap on Thursday. It'll be a party or sadness, but you're not going to get me down. You're not going to break my pride. You're not going to slow me down. Oh no, I'm just going to keep on moving. And I think that needs to be the general sentiment, and it has been. I mean, the attempts to legalize cannabis has been steadily increasing and persisting. And that's awesome. This show, again, is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy, blackcottagealchemy.com, Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. You can come downtown and get the products at Tochi. It's good. It's stinking body butter. It's made with kosher, full-spectrum CBD, 1,600 mgs of CBD to be exact. Got a bunch of butters, colloidal silver in there as well, which is beautifully antibiotically inclined. It's good for feet, toe, and foot fungus. Thank you for sponsoring this show. Now, normally Stinky Arts Music Mart would be after me, but the next 2 weeks he will no be here. Stinky no here. But in 3 weeks, it's Stinky. So I'll try to be Stinky for both of us. I'll be back next Thursday. I'll recap the cannabis legalization measures and what happened with that. It's exciting. It almost feels like my Christmas. But anyway, educate yourself on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on said benefits. You guys have a lovely, lovely day. I'll see you next Thursday. Get out and vote, you heathens. David Allen, Judgment Day. Peace.